G'day guys, today's video is all about texture. Okay, I wanted to show you guys that I could cram so much texture onto a page but without the bulk. And typically your tape runner always runs out right when you start a video, right? So once I fixed that up, I tell you what, it was a day. I got to tell you, I was doing these videos yesterday and I did 3 videos in one day, and which obviously equates to 3 layouts. And it started off a little sketchy, I've got to say. I was a bit worried. But anyway, so what I decided to do was obviously do a bit of paper piecing here, because I'm not going to waste the cardstock, because it's not going to be a big deal in the grand scheme of things. So just, if you've got odds and ends like this, just join them together and create your photo mats. When I first started scrapbooking, it was all about everything had to be perfectly flat, perfectly square, everything was perfectly plumb, you know, and while that is aesthetically pleasing, it's not necessarily how I like to scrap anymore. I like to bring in the texture and the mixed media. So I started off with the light modeling paste from, this one is from MARTE. I have run out of my favorite one and I haven't seen it available anywhere yet. So I'm using this one in the interim, and I'm also using the Distress texture paste as well. Now, I just wanted to get, I started off with Vicky Bouton Foundations cardstock, and I started off with that because that way I didn't have to prep the surface. But another sneaky little bit of texture that you can add in there is, if you do put gesso down, use a textured brush, drag a dried paintbrush through it, you know, like one that's all manky and dodgy that you think you'd just throw out because it's gross. Drag that through your gesso and that will give you instant texture. You know, like when it comes to scrapbooking, I think we sort of feel like texture has to come in the forms of, you know, stencils and whatnot. Also use your colors. Now, what I'm using here is the Dina Wakley black gesso, and I added it to some of the MARTE light modeling paste. Wow, it's early in the morning, guys. And the reason I did that is because I actually wanted to have a very matte black. I wanted it to sort of become, you can see it, but you can't touch it. You know, that black, that like black hole black. Now, I'm going to take this opportunity to remind you all again, when you're using any form of texture paste, modeling paste, any of those things, be sure 100% to clean your stencils right away. You cannot, these are not mediums that they're not forgiving, okay? If you don't clean them straight away, you will ruin your stencil. And I try and buy a more frugal approach to stencils, and for that reason, I'm probably slack and I don't clean them as much, but it really is worth your while cleaning them straight away. Now, I'm using the Darkroom Door Mini Marks stamps here just to bring in some different visual sort of texture. At this point, I'm just building up the layers. That's what I'm doing. So I'm kind of, my apologies. I've been up since 4 o'clock. Like, who gets up at 4 o'clock when you don't have to in winter? I'm crazy. I'm sure I'm crazy. But it's because I wanted to hit the ground running this morning and I really wanted to get a lot of stuff done. And my brain was awake, so I just went with it. Now, I have bought in the good old LUNAR paste. This one is slippery when wet. This one is the warmer gold that Simon Hurley's bought out. I've actually got a couple of them, and Psyche is actually my favorite, but for this particular layout, it didn't matter what gold I used. So the two left and right on the bits of gold on the left side and the right side, I wanted those to be stenciled properly so you can actually see the grids, but over the top of the black, so I've actually technically now, where the one I'm drying at the moment, that is actually 3 layers deep of texture. So you've got your stencil, your white stencil, your black stencil. Then I've used the gold on top. Now, I didn't want that gold on top to be perfectly stenciled. I wanted it to be a bit messy, more of a gold blob, I suppose. But because I was putting it through that stencil, I just did it that way. And I really like how that looks. Apologies, my dog's barking. I will address the elephant in the room. You can see that there is a massive heart on my photo. Now, there's a reason for that, because, you know, the old YouTube, sometimes it thinks that there's a problem because of a photo or because of something which, if you've been here for a while, you know that Gizmo's video got demonetized, blah, 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 or made, no, it wasn't demonetized, it was made R18+. So, this particular video, I'm actually using a photo of Taylor when she was being silly, and we were like perfectly safe, just joking, all that sort of stuff. But what she was actually doing, I can't really say what she was doing, but if I tell you that she was reenacting Wolverine, you will be able to figure out what is under the heart. Okay, so she was just being silly, and just to make sure that I don't get in trouble by YouTube, I decided to put a heart over it so that you can't actually see it and it just looks like a silly photo. So, and I thought it was actually a really good one to bring in lots of texture. Now, you saw me there. That is some twine. You can see how it's really fluffy cotton twine. That one, it's actually a pain in the neck to try and get it to lay flat because it's been on that spool for so long. But I decided that I would do a big diagonal of black to sort of draw, draw your eye across the page and draw your eye out to the edges. Now, this bit here, this is using a different twine again. This one is actually a new one to me. I only bought it the other week, last week or the week before, and it's from KMART. It's just craft twine, nothing exciting. But what I decided to do was sort of have that macrame feel. So if you're into macrame or you know of macrame, if you don't know what it is, I personally don't do it, and I don't have any. Oh, I do actually have one thing in my craft room, believe it or not. A friend of mine went to Bali and she brought me back a macrame. It's a pot plant holding thing, but I've got all my mini albums in it and it works perfectly in my corner. So anyway, but I digress. So basically I had that in the back of my head. So all I'm doing is adding strips going across and vertically and horizontally on my photo. Now, I want to take this opportunity to mention to you guys that I will be doing... No, actually, I can't say that yet. I just realized I can't say that yet. You know what I am wanting to do? I'm wanting to do it so desperately. I bit the bullet and I bought the VersaFine Claire inks. I bought a range of them. I'm still waiting on some more of them to arrive. I ordered them from 2 different stores, and one was Spotlight because I had a $25 voucher that expired that day and they were on sale for $12 each. So I just went, you know what, I'm going to order them and I'm going to use my $25 voucher, which means I don't have to go down to Spotlight to pick them up. They will deliver them to me and boom, bada bing, I get what I want. So that was okay. So I did that and I cannot wait to use them. I'm itching to do another stamping page or stamps on a page. So as you can see what I'm doing here, I'm using a hairbrush because it's easy and it helps separate the cotton, like to unravel a little bit. Didn't want it to go all over the place, but I wanted it to just unravel a little bit and create more texture. So texture and movement are 2 things that I love to create on a layout when I can. And this layout I actually love how it turns out. I'll be honest with you, I absolutely love it. And it totally is just something, it's just different. And it's just showing you a stack of different techniques that you don't have to use them all on one layout. You can use them, you can stack stencils up to create layout, to create texture and all that sort of thing. And it's really not difficult. It's not hard at all. You can use colors, you can be monochromatic, you can just use all one color. You can use I have tried it with a lot of metallics, and it does actually look really good with the different metals. So if you do some gold, some silver, some bronze, that actually looks really good as well. So if you use, what I actually did on that layout, I don't even know where that layout is, but ages ago, like I'm talking probably 5 years ago now. So I couldn't even put my hand on the layout to save myself. But I actually did white in the background, and then everything I put on top was a metallic. So I used metal, all the metals. There was bronze, copper, gold, silver, and it looked Mickey Duck. It was awesome. It looked really good. So now I'm just going around with my NUVO-GLACIER paste in Winter White. I love this stuff. I swear to God, I need to get another bottle just in case they stop making it. It's so good. I love it. And I'm just adding it to the diamonds to help them sort of stand out, which is what I was saying about the metallic on metallic. If you add a bit of that shimmer and shine, it will shine through the other textures and, believe it or not, create more movement for you. So it's super simple. I actually had lots of fun making this layout, just throwing caution to the wind and just going to town, adding some bits and pieces. All I did was pulled out half a dozen stencils. I pulled out some crystals. So these ones are the white ones. I got these from Alina Crafts and on AliExpress. I love using these things. I'm going through a thing at the moment where I'm really loving the crystals, the flat back pearls, because they're smaller. Like, if you think back to when enamel dots were everywhere, everyone, and they still are, like everyone was just enamel dot crazy. The problem I had with enamel dots is they were so big and so clunky. I use them sometimes, and I think I used one yesterday or the day before. I used a couple. It was on the Simple Stories layout with the Simply Vintage Indigo Garden collection. I used some of them on there, but boy, I struggle using enamel dots because they're just too big. So that's why I like these little tiny ones, because I can add them and they add a sprinkle, but they're not big and gaudy and in your face. That's just me. It's probably just the way I look at things. I'm a little crazy like that. Apologies in advance. So with this, guys, I hope you get value out of this video. I hope it gives you some ideas on different ways you can bring texture to your layout. And this is not bulky. This layout is not bulky at all. I know it looks like it should be, but it's not. So to do layouts using these techniques, you will not really bulk out your album. And I say it all the time, I try and bring you layouts that have texture, have layers, have all that, but without the bulk, because like you, I have to buy albums as well. And if you're going over the top and putting so much bulk layering, dense, all that, if you're doing all that on a layout, you do that half a dozen times, and before you know it, you've just lost the space of 6 layouts easily in your album, because you're just gonna put way too much pressure on the spine of the album. So, but that's okay. So I pulled out my thickers. These are the thickers colourful stickers. As you can see, I don't have many left, but there was a black title and I thought that would actually work for me, and I can use that little arrow. That will work for me as well. And they're shiny and there's white polka dots on them. So I felt it totally worked, and that's why I decided to call this page Laugh, because we were laughing because it was just random that she did this. And believe it or not, at that point she had actually not ever even watched Wolverine. I think she may have watched 1 or 2 now, but yeah. So let me know, guys. Give me a thumbs up, give me a comment, give me all of that. It all helps out my channel, and it helps my channel get noticed by other people, and the algorithm will push it to other people that are looking for scrapbooking ideas. So by helping me out, by leaving me a comment or liking or sharing my channel, that's what it's actually doing. So thank you so much for watching. Look at all that gorgeous texture, and looking at it like this, there's so much texture, but look, it's not even thick. It's not thick at all. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I genuinely appreciate each and every one of you, and I will be back tomorrow with another video. Thank you so much for watching, and that's it from me. So I'm going to sign out while you look at these last little zoomed in bits. Don't forget, I've got a Facebook group and Instagram if you want to see the photos up close as well. That's all in the description. Thanks, guys. Bye for now.